Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
My sister has struggled a lot in her life. She was clinically diagnosed with depression at a young age, and since our parents died, she has been going to therapy to cope with it. For the past 4 years, she was doing really great and got clear from her therapist for handling her own matters. So I finally let her have full control of her assets and even gave her her part of the inheritance. As a 23-year-old, I didn't think she'd need constant supervision or check ins, but still, I made sure to call her every week or two just to get a feel about how she's doing mentally and if she needs any help, and not once did it seem like she was struggling. But last week, she called me and asked me to be at home as she's coming over. I was a little worried because she usually gives me a notice a few days before coming over. Nonetheless, I went home early. When she arrived, I asked her if anything was up with her, but she only said that she needed to be around people to prevent overthinking. So I stayed with her until she fell asleep. I knew for a fact that she didn't have any friends she could trust, and I'm the only person she reaches out to whenever she needs help. And I'm the only person she reaches out to whenever she needs help. It's sometimes a hassle to deal with this much drama in life, but I can't really cut off my only sister. The next day, I cooked her some breakfast and told her that she could order something if she needed to eat. In the first place, I didn't want to leave her alone, but I had a meeting I was presenting in and couldn't put it off. I figured it'd only take a few hours and I could finish it up and take the rest of the day off. And seeing my sister was looking a little cheerful in the morning, I let myself relax and focus on my presentation. A few hours later, I went back home and found my sister missing. I checked the house and was concerned to find my room in shambles. My stuff was scattered all over the place, and it was evident that my sister was searching for something rigorously in my room. I tried to see what was missing, but couldn't put a finger on it. That's when it struck me to check on the little cash I kept in the house. So I went and checked behind the medicine cabinet where I keep the cash and noticed that along with it, all my credit cards were missing. I put two and two together and was enraged to realize she used my love and care to steal from me. I didn't know she had relapsed into her depression and was too tired to even think about helping her out. I had had enough with her and wasn't going to keep up with her shit anymore. So I called 911 and told them how my sister stole from me. The cops showed up at my house and checked the validity of my report. Then I went with them to my sister's house. I didn't think she'd be at home, and I was right. The cops had a search warrant, so they broke into her place and started searching for the missing cards. It took us a whole day to get there with all the papers, so we missed my sister, but the cards that went missing from my house were found on her kitchen counter. But that was not all the cops found. There were countless receipts on the counter with dates going up to 2 weeks back. They also found a bank statement, and that's when I saw that she is completely broke. She blew through every single penny she earned or got from the inheritance and is now using my cards to get her high. In her bedroom, they found used needles and other pills. I couldn't believe I wasn't able to catch her relapse. I talked to her only a few days ago, and even last night when I was with her until late at night, I didn't notice the signs. It was entirely on me for not noticing, and I deserved getting my card stolen. But I was also pissed at her that she let all the time and resources that went into her treatment go to waste. It was like the last 4 years didn't happen at all. So when the cops filed additional charges against her, I was actually glad to see her pay for what she did. I want her to suffer the consequences of her actions. I know she's mentally struggling and to some extent it's out of her control, but at the same time, I'm up to my limit and can't let her have any more chances. Does that make me an a-hole? The cops asked me for a lot of details regarding her condition, and I gave them her therapist's number so they can follow up with him. She'll probably get charged for drug abuse and stealing. It's looking really bad for her, even if they took into consideration the fact that she struggles mentally. Either way, I can't find it in me to keep up with the drama she brings into my life. I may be the only family she has, but at some point I need to recognize my boundaries and define them. So I'm not going to help her anymore. In my opinion, I don't see thinking about myself first as a shit move. But I'd still like advice from this subreddit. Do you think I should have helped her instead of hanging her out to dry? It's been 2 weeks since the last time my sister came home. Somehow, she found out that the cops were looking for her and has been on the run. The investigation in her case is still going on, and it turns out the shit she's in is a lot deeper than it looks from the outside. It's normal for her to be kicked out of a job within a few months. Usually, employers find someone more qualified to take her place and would let her go. Because of her history, she doesn't present a stellar record for getting hired. So when she changed 3 jobs within a month, I didn't think it was anything unusual. But now I've learnt the truth behind her quitting so frequently. I wasn't the only one she stole from. She stole cash from 2 of her previous employers who have each filed a separate case against her, and another one whose business accounts she used to order a lot of stuff and then left before he found out. The delivery address she gave was of someone else, and thankfully the business owner was able to get a refund after returning everything. I still can't believe how long all this has been going on. I've heard from people that once an addict will always be an addict, and until now, I never believed the saying. I really thought she could recover, but her relapse has been worse than ever before. She might have changed the way she dealt with her depression and her fixes, but it's clear that she's still an addict going over the limit to feed God knows what. I'm getting stressed day by day, and I hope she is found soon so she could pay for what she did and then hope to get some kind of help. I received a call yesterday from the officer who was heading my sister's case, and he informed me that she's been caught. Apparently, she was hoarding up with some foreign students who were here for a cultural fest. She used one of the credit cards she stole to pay at a gas station, and they were able to track it down. Now, that wasn't really smart of her. Did she really think all of the crap she left behind would go unnoticed or unreported? Of course, the cards were red flagged, and for a person who's running from the cops, that was the basics. Even a child knows not to use electronics that leave behind a signature. Anyway, they informed me because I was her only contact and in case I wanted to pay bail. But I'm not going to waste any more of my time or money on her. Let her suffer the consequences and actually face a hard life where she's left all alone. My decision to leave her still stands, and I'm just trying to move on now. She'd be facing charges for drug possession, stealing, evading. I doubt she'd be able to hire a lawyer to defend herself and would most probably end up with a public attorney. I'll update once I know more about her situation. The court used my statement and my sister's therapist's statements to prove that she is in fact not mentally challenged and should be charged to the full extent of her crimes. The trial went on for 2 months, and even though her lawyer tried to get her a reduced sentence with community service, the judge didn't do her any favors. In the end, she was sentenced to 7 years in jail and a fine of $450,000, along with full repayment of the damages she caused to her previous employers and me. I wasn't really worried about myself because I blocked my cards as soon as I received the message that it's being used, but the cash she stole was something that wasn't easy to recover. I think it's a good thing that I don't keep more than a few $100 or 1,000 at max at home. She is also required to do 18 months of community service along with regular sessions with a court-appointed therapist. I haven't talked to her in the last few months, and only after she went to prison did I go to see her. When she saw me, she got mad and asked me why I put her in this deep shit. I didn't think she could go any lower, but her blaming me for her problems was the proof I needed to know I made the right choice in leaving her to her own devices. I told her that she deserves what's coming to her, and if she wants to turn her life around, she should better think about what she's going to do after getting out. Now, I'm back at my place, and even though what happened to her is a little sad, I don't feel it all that guilty. NTA, you were there for her a long time, and I don't blame you for not being able to put up with her shit anymore. Just let her live on the streets and focus on your life. She isn't your responsibility, and you're no way the a-hole. NTA, not the a-hole, because if I was in your place, a 23-year-old woman would never be so dependent on me. I would have made my boundaries clear a long time ago. There's no way a person who isn't willing to get better is getting my help. I'm a 19-year-old female, and my mom, is 52, female, is mad at me because I keep things from her. Basically, my mom is a very judgmental person, and she has a habit of shaming people for their choices. I don't consider her the type of person to go for advice because she's very condescending at times. Growing up, she at times took a jab at my physical appearance, called me names, and even shamed me. Because of this trauma, I just closed up from her, and now I don't like talking to her about my life. My mom has a sister, 58, who has an amazing relationship with her daughters. Her sister is a very supportive and amazing mom that sometimes even I feel jealous of my cousins. Well, after seeing them now, my mom tries way too hard to actively participate in my life. She keeps trying to come in my room, tries to look through my closet, asking me where I bought certain things and why I didn't tell her. She asks me questions about my life, then she also whines at times that why I am not close with her and why I'm so closed off. I try to tell her I am not and just turn the convo around. She tries to hug me, and because she didn't show much physical affection to me as a kid, I feel very uncomfortable when she does that now. So here is where I think I'm the AH. I took a few pictures when I dressed up in my room for fun and sent them to my cousin. Now, my cousin is close to her mom, so they talk about everything. When my aunt came over after a few days, she mentioned I looked really pretty in my pics. My mom suddenly asked what pics and got mad. She didn't talk to me the entire day and asked why I didn't show her those pics and why I always excluded her from my life. AITA here? NTA. Your mother set the tone for the relationship with her judgmental attitude, and it seems to have just worsened into outright intrusion. If she truly did want to connect with you, she would be showing contrition about her past ways and trying to earn your consent by showing she genuinely cares, not by treating you like a suspect under police investigation. NTA, do you even want to be close to your mom at this point? My mom was very much like this when I was growing up. She didn't give a shit about my life. The few times I confided in her, thinking we could have a normal mother-daughter relationship, she used the information to tattle on me to my verbally abusive dad, and then sat back and enjoyed the show. Now that we're older, she sees her friends and their grown daughters are like friends now, and she doesn't seem to understand why we are not. You get what you put into your relationship with your kids. You really are NTA. I suggest secretly voice recording sometimes where your mom has been nosy, then bringing them up if she tries to deny her being nosy. People like this deny doing these things, so they can occasionally gaslight you. I'm not saying your mom is doing that, but I am saying that this is what might happen. Your mom may be encroaching on your life because she's curious about what you're doing and how you're growing up, but this is not the way to do it. Suggest family counseling or therapy. If there's a negative reaction from her, tantrum, screaming, abuse, you need to move out immediately. Someone who isn't willing to sort out their own problems can't be helped. I hope your situation gets better. I really do. Tell her that her jealousy of her sisters, your aunts, relationships with Her daughters, your cousins, has badly affected you too by making your mom feel like a forced relationship between you and her will solve everything. Again, I really do hope your situation gets better. Your mom is displaying some signs of insecurity and jealousy towards her sister and taking it out on you in negative ways instead of trying to better the relationship between you and her. I, 42 female, have a daughter, Julie, 15 female, with my ex, Mark, 44 male. We divorced when Julie was 5 and have shared custody. My sister, Sarah, 32 female, is getting married very soon. I've been involved and helping with all the planning, and Julie is a bridesmaid. Obviously, Sarah and her fiance want their big day to go as smoothly as possible, and everything is set. We've all been looking forward to this for a long time, as their wedding was already postponed once due to the virus. Mark's niece passed away recently. The funeral's happening the day before Sarah's wedding, and Mark wants Julie to go with him. The issue is we live on the East Coast and the funeral's on the West, so Julie will have to fly out and miss the wedding. Mark said that he'll be staying for a few days after the funeral, but even with the scenario that Julie comes back on a red eye, the earliest she'll arrive is the morning of the wedding, which is cutting it extremely close. Both me and Julie have talked to Sarah about this, and she's not on board at all, especially considering Julie's part of the bridal party. I've told Julie she can fly out after the wedding and spend some time then, but she doesn't want to hear it. She's been arguing with me non-stop that she absolutely needs to go to the funeral. I said that she needs to stop parroting her dad and she's free to go if she wants to, and let Sarah and everyone else down. She's been really mad at me, but she's always been a bit of a moody teen. Obviously, the timing isn't great, but I think I offered a reasonable solution to her and Mark, so am I being the AH? Seeing some questions being repeated and also got a couple of messages. Yes, Mark's niece is Julie's cousin, his sister's daughter, and she was 27. Julie would hang out with her occasionally, and she gave a speech at her wedding. Some are also asking how Julie was friends with her cousin if she lived on the opposite side of the country. She and her husband lived here, but her husband was originally from a different state, which is where the funeral is happening. Supporting loved ones through death overrides celebrating with loved ones through life every single time. YTA for suggesting anything else, especially when your daughter is grieving. This is such a delicate situation. At such a formative age, she needs to exercise her autonomy. She wants to be at the funeral over the wedding. She's at the funeral over the wedding. End of story. Teenagers processing grief is one of the most formative experiences of their life. Let her have control over it. Let her regulate her emotions. Let her take care of herself. Do not invalidate the trauma she's been through. Source. My best friend and both my parents died when I was between the ages of 15 and 17. And I'm 120 pounds on 220 milligrams of venlafaxine and 10 milligrams of diazepam a day because I can't deal with things. Because I was never given the chance to. And I'm doing 10 years of catch-up now. Let her grieve. Do not force her to celebrate if she doesn't want to. Let her exercise her autonomy. I truly believe I would not have PTSD if I had had half the chance to do the same. YTA, you are being selfish and unsupportive. This seems like some nonsense between you and your ex, especially since you keep saying my ex's niece rather than my daughter's cousin in some sort of way to make it more about your ex than the fact that it is your daughter's cousin. Oh, and then dragging in letting people down while your child is dealing with her grief. Yeah, that's pretty awful of you. Moreover, your daughter is going to be coping with her grief, and then she has to go to a wedding and pretend to be happy? If I was your sister and this was supposed to be a happy day, no offense, but I wouldn't want her there because she is most likely going to be miserable and probably pissed off since she wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. If my mother tried to pull this, you'd bet I'd be angry and especially pissed off having to go to a wedding. YTA, I have been the bride that has had MOH and bridesmaids cancelled 2 weeks before. It's not fun, but this is a funeral. If they were close and this is the closure they need, let her have that. But to say that they are selfish is way too far. If it were poor planning, then I would change my vote. But a funeral, you can't move. From experience, when my bridesmaids cancelled, I had 4 people begging to take their place. Did it look perfect? No. The dresses weren't the same, but it worked out. Any reasonable bride would get that you need closure and that if you need to attend a funeral, then you should.